Shut your mouth and sit down before I make you regret it. His voice sliced through the restaurant like broken glass. No one moved. No one breathed, until a young black waitress stepped forward and said, "Sir, respect isn't a favor. It's a choice. And you just ran out of it." Asterisk, the restaurant was the kind of place where laughter was expensive and silence was cheaper. Crystal. Chandeliers hung like frozen fireworks above tables, lined with people who believed their status made them untouchable. At the center of it all sat Jonathan Pierce, the billionaire CEO everyone feared. He wasn't loud. He didn't need to be. His presence alone demanded obedience. When he walked in, even the air seemed to hold its breath. Tonight, the occasion was supposed to be a celebration, his company's latest acquisition. The press called him brilliant. His employees called him relentless. But those who worked under him whispered another word. Cruel beside him sat his young wife, Clara, her hands resting nervously on her lap, a small bump showing beneath her satin dress. She looked fragile, like porcelain, trying to survive a storm. It started with something small, a glass tipping over. Her hands trembled, and red wine spilled across the white tablecloth like a wound. Jonathan's expression shifted. His jaw clenched. "Can't you do anything, right?" The table fell silent. A few guests looked away, pretending not to hear. The manager froze halfway through a step. "I'm sorry," Clara whispered. Reaching for a napkin, he snatched her wrist, just enough to make her flinch, his voice dropping to a hiss. "You've embarrassed me again." Her eyes filled with tears. Around them, expensive smiles cracked into uncomfortable silence. But no one said a word. Not the board members. Not the waiters. No one. Fears a powerful leash. Until one person decides to break it. Ava Brooks had been watching from across the room. She was 27, a single mother of two, and working her third double shift that week. Her shoes pinched, her back ached, and her paycheck barely covered rent, but none of that mattered right now, because she saw something that made her forget her exhaustion. She saw a man with power and a woman trapped by it. Ava had grown up with a father who believed shouting was love and control was protection. She knew the look in Clara's eyes. It was the look of someone who had learned that silence keeps the peace, but kills the soul. Ava took a deep breath. Her tray shook in her hands. The manager's warning echoed in her head. Never get involved, especially with rich people. But conscience doesn't ask permission. Ava placed her tray down, her heart pounding against her ribs like a drum. She stepped closer, voice trembling but clear. "Sir, please, stop talking to her like that." The room froze. Jonathan turned slowly, as if someone had just interrupted a king. "What did you say?" Ava swallowed hard. "I said she doesn't deserve that." His laughter was cold. "And who are you? The help?" A few people chuckled awkwardly, trying to diffuse the tension. Ava's hands clenched, but her voice stayed steady. "Yes," she said softly, "and even the help knows the difference between strength and cruelty." Every pair of eyes turned toward her. Jonathan stood, his chair scraping against the marble floor, his face flushed with disbelief, the kind that only appears when someone dares to treat him like a man instead of a god. "You think you can lecture me?" he sneered. Ava met his glare. "No, sir. I'm just reminding you that the world is watching, and respect doesn't come with money. It comes with decency." Ava had never been fearless. She just learned how to act before fear could stop her. Her father had left when she was 8. Her mother worked 3 jobs and died before Ava finished high school. She'd seen enough injustice to know that silence only helps the wrong people. She'd raised her children on stories about courage. "Never let anyone tell you your worth," she'd say. "The world already tries to take it." Now, standing in front of the richest man in the room, she realized this was the moment her mother had prepared her for. The restaurant manager rushed in, panic painted across his face. "Ava, please." Jonathan cut him off. "Fire her." The words cracked through the air like lightning. Ava stood still. She didn't beg, didn't argue. She simply said, if losing my job is the price of speaking truth, I'll pay it. But you, sir, you'll live with the debt of your silence. A murmur spread through the restaurant. Guests shifted uncomfortably. One woman whispered to another, she's right. Jonathan's face twisted, but he didn't speak. For the first time that evening, he seemed unsure. Clara looked up, her eyes filling with something new. Not fear, but courage. Clara rose from her chair. The entire room watched as she faced her husband. She's right, she said softly. Jonathan blinked. What did you say? Clara's voice trembled, but she didn't stop. You treat everyone like they exist to serve you. I've spent years pretending that was strength. But it's not. It's weakness. She turned to Ava. Thank you for reminding me what strength really looks like. The words rippled through the air. Quiet but undeniable. Jonathan tried to speak. But his own investors, men and women who once laughed at his arrogance, looked away. They had seen enough. By morning, the story was everywhere. CEO humiliates wife in public. Waitress stands up. Clips from the restaurant security footage leaked online. Millions watched Ava's quiet defiance. Jonathan Pierce's empire trembled. Sponsors pulled back. His board called an emergency meeting. Within a week, he was gone, stepping down for personal reasons. But that wasn't the real ending, because true power never belonged to him. It belonged to the people he thought were powerless. A new cafe opened downtown, the Rose Table. Its slogan read, where everyone is treated with dignity. Inside, Ava worked as the manager. And one morning, a familiar face walked through the door. Clara, holding a baby girl. They hugged, tears soft and grateful. Clara placed a small envelope on the counter. It's not charity, she said. It's partnership. I want to invest in you. Inside was a check, enough to buy the cafe outright. But it wasn't the money that made Ava cry. It was the note that came with it, because one woman's courage gave another woman freedom. Later that evening, the cafe was full. Laughter, music, and the warm smell of coffee filling the air. Ava looked around and smiled. Not because she'd won, but because she'd done something far more powerful. She'd reminded people that even in a world built on money and fear, decency still matters. And in a small corner table, a woman read the headline about Jonathan Pierce's fall from grace and whispered, "Good, because for once, justice hadn't needed power. It just needed one voice that refused to stay." Silent. We live in a world where arrogance is often mistaken for leadership, but the truth is simple. It takes far more courage to be kind than it does to be cruel. Ava didn't have wealth. She didn't have influence. All she had was the belief that doing right is never wrong. And that belief changed everything. Asterisk, would you have spoken up like Ava did? Where are you watching from? Subscribe for more cinematic stories that remind us power may demand silence, but courage always speaks.